What are some salient changes that you've seen in those 20 years?
Well, so I think a couple of things. As a global company, the two things that we realize is that it takes a lot of leadership commitment. Yeah, so visibility around what it is that we have to change. But having said that, it's just as important that we educate, that we engage, and that there is awareness right across the organization. And that is the difficult one. That is the journey. And we've been on this journey for 20 years.
And it's still a challenge. If you take a look at the stats, I mean, at Shell, 11% of your engineers are women only, versus 20% of engineering grads. Why that lag, and why is it still being left behind?
Well, let me put it this way. So there are two big reasons. And I have to articulate that this is a reason that's beyond Shell. Yeah, but Shell is very committed to this. So the first one is around the number of engineers, the number of girls that go into an engineering degree and then into an engineering type of a job, right? And then the other one is really around senior leadership with STEM roles. So let me talk a little bit about, at the pipeline level. So what we do in Shell is that we spend time with the community. So Shell invests in working with universities and institutions like Royal Academy in Engineering in the UK, and also then with engineering institutions to encourage more girls to go into engineering. We work with communities, and we have this program called N Explorers, which really sparks and want to encourage for young students, girls and boys, to spark their interest in agile thinking so that they can start to think about solving the difficult issues in the world, complex issues around water, food, and energy. So that's what we do at the pipeline level, at the ground level. What we realize as well is that there's an effect of what we call the cliff. Yeah, and let me explain what the cliff is. We actually, on a basis of graduate hires that we bring in, we're at 50-50%. So we have 50 female graduates and 50% male graduates. And that's good. That's progress. But what we realize is that at mid-career, there are quite many women who then actually leave. Yeah, and we've spent time to understand why the case is. And again, a few things. This is the point in time where people start to make life choices. And some of that life choice includes starting a family. And for many women, I think especially then in the Asian context, where there are still some expectations around family, many of these women leave. Yeah, so what we have wanted to do then with that realization is start to also impact the way that we support our women. So 2 years ago, we implemented the global maternity policy. And this is right across all the 70-odd countries that we operate in, a 16-week minimum maternity leave. And that is a lot. That is commitment. I think the other things that we've done for places like India is to really appreciate that, women have some concerns about safety. And for those reasons, they may not want to work in different shifts. And we offer transport, door to door, from the office back to home to ensure that they're safe.
I want to jump in here. You talk about the various countries that you operate in.
Yeah.
As head of diversity, how do you ensure that your policies are executed equally across these countries, including countries like Brunei, where recently, we saw how there was a greater push for gay rights, for instance?
Yeah. Well, so again, let me put it this way. My role is to review then, what it is that Shell stands for. Right, and we stand for respecting everyone, and we value everyone. Yeah, so respect and inclusion is important. What we want to do as well is to make sure that these policies and practices are applicable to the locations. Yeah, that has been implemented. So just going back again to the maternity policy, it took us 2 years to implement that because it is our responsibility to make sure that the engagement happens on the ground, that policies that need to be changed and shifted has its time to change and shift, And that on the ground, we engage with our stakeholders, our employees, the government, if we have to, around policies that need to change, and then we make those change. So things take time, but that has always been Shell's commitment.
Things take time, but it shouldn't take more than 200 years. The UN said that it'll take about 201 or 203 years for equality to be achieved. I mean, how do you move the needle quickly?
Yeah, well, let me give you some statistics. And I think, like everyone, Shell is committed and also want to accelerate this progress, because we're not there yet. But we've made lots of progress. So as an example, we have 45% women on our board of directors. Our CFO is female. And we have come to a journey where 20 years ago, our senior leadership, women's senior leadership was 4%. And today, we're more than a quarter. And our commitment is to get to, in the very short term, to a third. And so I think, the progress has taken 20 years, and hopefully it shouldn't take another 20 years for us to get to gender equality. So we're definitely very committed to
Lyn,
this.
just one final question before we let you go. If companies like to get on this equality bandwagon, if there is one move, one policy that needs to be adopted, what would that be?
Well, I think today we're not looking at fixing women. We're looking at helping women and men and changing the way that this is viewed. Because if we're just focused on fixing women, the issue will always just be about women. So we need to also then help to support the men so that they can support their women. So I think, for everyone to consider that policies and practices around flexible working, maternity leave, but also paternity leave, and also supporting the men to know that they're not left alone, right? So that is the paradox, that as we move and accelerate for, more women to be represented in the workforce, that the men need to know that they're supported too.